Welcome to Work Reborn, the podcast where we explore how technology is reshaping the workplace and helping IT leaders deliver better business outcomes. Today, we're focusing on the evolving role of IT and why digital employee experience, or DEX, is now central to productivity, employee satisfaction, and long-term success. IT is no longer just about keeping systems running. It's about creating an environment where employees thrive and technology works seamlessly in the background. Joining me today are two leaders in this space. From Lenovo, we have Rakshit Ghura, who leads the innovation of digital workplace solutions as Vice President and General Manager of DWS. And from Lakeside Software, we're joined by Mike Schumacher, CEO and founder, whose vision for proactive AI-powered IT has made Lakeside Software a leader in digital experience management. Together, Lenovo and Lakeside Software are helping organizations shift from reactive IT support to proactive, predictive, and autonomous IT. We'll explore why partnerships matter, how AI is reshaping IT operations, and what the future holds for IT leaders navigating hybrid work and digital transformation. Let's get started. Welcome. Thank you so much, Mike and Rakshit, for joining us today. Today, to start our discussion, to continue our Work Reborn conversation, I wanted to start with the evolving role of IT and really talk about how the landscape is changing, how the individual role itself is going to evolve over time. And Rakshit, I would love for you to kind of start off the conversation and your opinion, telling us really how are IT leaders, their priorities changing as technology is becoming more central to the business strategy.
Thanks, Rita. So we are seeing a major change in the priorities of the IT leaders as technology is becoming central to business strategy. So we have done our work reborn study, and as part of that particular report, we got a lot of interesting insights from the IT leaders. The first and foremost, what IT leaders are focusing on, they are focusing on employee experience. They want to enhance the employee experience. So from our study, we understood that almost 81% of the IT leaders, their most critical objective, which they want to improve, is the employee experience. The second key thing which we got out of the report was that most of these leaders want to focus on digital workplace transformation as foundational rather than an optional component. And again, we saw that 97% of the IT leaders were interested in the digital workplace transformation, yet only 60% of them are yet to start, right? And then, most of these leaders, they want to also not just focus on the IT side of the investment. They want to see this as a strategic initiative within their company. They want to focus on broader goals like generative AI, employee productivity, agility, and innovation. So in short, the shift is all about moving away from a standardized one size fit all approach around digital workplace and embrace what we call as a hyper personalized digital workplace employee experience. And that is the new role which is evolving for all the IT leaders to see how IT can become a backbone which can support to all the CXO stakeholders within the company.
Yeah, Mike, are you seeing the same thing on Lakeside side? Where does DEX fit into the shift and why is it so core to Lakeside Software's mission? Feel free to explain that and chat amongst each other about that topic.
Yeah, thanks, Rita. And by the way, thank you for having me. Happy to be here. Rakshit, great to see you again. I guess it's been a week, right? I think that I completely agree with what Rakshit is saying and what you're seeing in the market. For the knowledge worker today, the most important tool they have by a lot is the PC. And the productivity is greatly impacted by what kind of a digital experience that they get. And improving that experience is one of these rare cases where everybody wins. Employees are happier because they just run into less problems in doing their day-to-day work, and organizations get the benefit of greater productivity. So I think to the extent that you can make that a great digital experience, I think there's a lot of opportunity. And I think that the world has become a lot more complicated this year with the introduction of agentic AI. Agentic AI has the potential to greatly enhance human productivity when it's kind of used in the right way. And so what Lakeside does, and kind of our involvement in working with Lenovo, is about providing digital experience management, or DEX software, that is kind of a core technology that helps you understand and quantify what that employee experience is looking like, with an eye toward actionable results, being able to do something to make it better. DEX really allows you to focus your IT energy where it makes the most sense, where it delivers the biggest returns.
Rakshit, do you agree with that? What are you most excited about when it comes to this partnership with Lenovo and Lakeside and how we're bringing this to life?
Absolutely, Richa. I am very excited about this partnership with Lakeside, especially knowing Mike for so many years. I can tell you, Lakeside is just the right partner when it comes to bringing the right innovation around digital employee experience management for our customers. And I'm super excited about this partnership. What Lenovo is doing very different in the market is we are building what we call as AI-led, which is called tech-led, labor-like model for our customers, through which we can build a predictive and preventive workplace support model for the clients. And many of the services and platforms under this actually goes in delivering that kind of a business outcome for the client. And Lakeside is one of a very strategic partner when it comes to building the capability around DEX space, which is around measuring employee experience, optimizing employee experience, and then delivering the superlative experience to all the workforce within the enterprise.
That's very well said. I would love to dive into the other side of this, getting more tactical with this conversation, which is really how we are better together. And one of those ways is delivering end-to-end value through the life cycle and device process. Lenovo is known for devices, Rakshit, but you've often said it actually is more than just hardware. How is Lenovo delivering life cycle value beyond the device itself?
So great question, Richa. Goes without saying, everybody knows Lenovo for providing the best-in-class devices. In fact, we enjoy more than 25% market share when it comes to devices, and which means that effectively every fourth device in the world is actually a Lenovo device. But mostly CIOs, they don't just buy devices, they buy business outcomes. And that is where Lenovo is truly helping the global customers to fulfill their desire around digital workplace transformation. So we are leading with a model called TrueScale DaaS, which is our device as a service model, through which we are providing decision as a service for our customers. So when we talk about decisions, these could be the decisions around how do we attract and retain the workforce within the enterprise. It could be around, how do we instill sustainability into the digital workplace initiatives, or it could be around how do we make workplace equitable for all. So with our offerings, we are trying to focus on the customer pain points and focus on how exactly we can transform their digital workplace environment and how we can deliver to the end-to-end business outcomes with the help of our decision as a service business model. So example, very recently, we introduced what we called as sustainable task value proposition, through which we can actually reduce the customer lifecycle cost by almost like 35%. And at the same time, we can also reduce their carbon footprints by 35%. So we have a comprehensive set of solutions through which we can reduce the device related carbon footprints. And that's how we are helping the customers. And we are also enabling AI PCs for the customers, which is really helping them become much more efficient in their business role. And we are able to save almost like 34 hours per employee per year, bringing that kind of a productivity to each employee within the workforce. So the future, the way we see it, is all about enterprises consuming TrueScale device as a service in a consumption-led model attached with the business outcomes. And all of this is made possible through our unique decision as a service framework, which we are delivering to the client.
That's so well said. Tech leaders aren't just buying devices, they're buying business outcomes. I think that's really the core of why this partnership is so great. Mike, let's dive into that deeper. When Lenovo's orchestration capabilities are meeting Lakeside software visibility into this user experience, what happens for customers? What new insights or efficiencies appear? Like, how can we apply this to a tech leader that's listening?
Yeah, I think that that it's a really unique kind of offering that and philosophy that Lenovo has in this area. And I think treating it like a life cycle, like an IT life cycle on these devices, is really key. It starts with a multifaceted approach. So it's really, how do you get the employee the right device to begin with? And you do that by understanding their persona, understanding their usage, understanding how they fit into the business, and quantifying that with objective decision support tools. And then once you start with the right device, you kind of have to maintain that. So you've got to optimize that experience throughout the entire life cycle of the device. You start everybody's experience that you get a brand new system and you get that pristine experience on the first day. The idea is to be able to maintain that experience and have that every single day throughout the process. So to do that, there's a whole methodology built in around proactively managing problems, solving problems sometimes before the user even knows that they exist, helping them understand when is the right time to upgrade to a new device, and doing that with tangible ROI, understanding how they use this tool and how it helps them deliver the productivity and value, and then making decisions based on that data directly. So like a recent example, how do you benefit from AI PC? Which people benefit the most? What apps do they use that would leverage it, and what would the difference be in productivity? You can't really blindly make that kind of decision. I think the Lenovo approach, which is to really understand that persona and need, and then use a data-backed decision-making process to get people the right device, this is really promising in terms of the end result and making IT kind of a business partner.
I would love to dive into that further between the two of you. I think when folks who do not know about Lenovo or how Lakeside is brought into this partnership hear AI PC, I think there's some IT leaders might, kind of roll their eyes a bit and go, oh, are they just tacking on the word AI to another device type of a thing? So I would love to hear between the two of you, really how is what we're doing very different, and it's truly strategically implemented and designed and not just another thing we're throwing the AI sticker on. Maybe Rakshit, would you like to start and kind of dialogue between both of you?
Yeah, Rita, I'll say, it's an interesting question. From my standpoint, this is a game changer, right? I mean, introducing AI PC as a concept and bringing it into the industry. Lenovo is one of the, industry pioneer. And the way this technology works, you actually make sure that you identify how do you make AI much more consumable for the enterprise IT. That's what we are driving in the industry. So this approach is all about making the edges, making the devices more intelligent. And with the help of AI PC, we can actually identify what are the use cases which every employee need to address on a day-to-day basis, how they can be done in a much more seamless manner, much more efficient manner with the help of AI PC. So yes, there are benefits of AI PC, which is around sustainability, which is around, extending the battery life of a device and, improving the carbon footprints. But there is much better use cases around the IPC, which is around improving the employee productivity, making sure whatever AI services which an organization is consuming within the enterprise, they are being consumed in much more secured manner. And more importantly, it can be done in a more cost-efficient way. So cost efficiency, security, and then sustainability, these are the three key drivers which I feel are very important for any future enterprise. And that's why they should be embracing AI PCs. Mike, your thoughts?
I agree. I think the key is to understand what workloads you have, what applications you use, and which of those could take advantage of that AI PC hardware. Sometimes people are working away with devices that don't have that kind of an assist feature on it, and the employee would benefit greatly from it. I think you don't have to guess anymore. The idea is to run DEX software that keeps track of exactly what applications they use and what services those applications could take advantage of, and then to find the cases where that kind of a difference, adding that AI PC capability, would really make a big difference in their productivity. And you can project that onto battery life, and you can project that onto performance, and you can project that onto sustainability. In all the cases, it comes, though, from really understanding directly, person by person, group by group, what the workload is and which ones can take advantage of those kinds of capabilities. And I think you could actually step back and generalize that data decision-led approach and say, really, for any kind of features, if you objectively understand what the workload looks like, you're able to make great decisions on how to best accomplish that and do that efficiently in the organization.
Very well said. Let's talk more about once this is established in an organization, there's a next level that is able to be achieved in the enterprise environment. And that is really empowering the IT leaders to make these kinds of great decisions, but also work better and be more efficient in their teams. In our Work Reborn report, we discussed something called invisible IT. Rakshit, would you like to just expand on this for us? What are IT leaders asking for as they move away from reactive models of IT support, and really think about things like this device orchestration, lifecycle, getting to the next level? What is invisible IT to you?
Absolutely, Rita, it's a great question. Yes, to eliminate workplace barriers, we have seen most of the IT leaders, as part of our work reborn report, they want IT to become invisible in their enterprise. So it should work quietly in the background, and it should, anticipate as well as resolves issue automatically before even the user realizes there is a problem on his or her machine. So that is the concept of invisible IT. So figuring out how IT can be your backbone, which is available to support you as and when any support is required, but it's not something which is intruding into your day-to-day work. So what we are seeing for this concept around invisible IT to be delivered to any enterprise, we need two key functionalities. First is the ability to provide predictive and preventive support, and second is hyper personalization. So even in our work reborn study, we saw that almost 83% of the IT leader, they agree that predictive and proactive issue resolution is the key to the invisible IT, but less than 21% have so far achieved it, right? I mean, so that's one critical data point. And then we also saw that, these IT leaders spoke about hyper personalization, that how with the help of this hyper personalization, they believe there can be 30% improvement in the employee experience, and then there can be also 50% faster time to productivity which they can achieve for any new employees. So these two are very core capabilities which is needed for delivering the invisible IT, and that is where we are working very closely with Lakeside software on capturing the advanced device telemetry and making sure with the help of our care of one intelligence engine, which is all focused around hyper personalization, productivity, how we can identify the typical use cases which an employee faces on a day-to-day basis, what are the productivity challenges they are facing, and then automate all these kind of issues and bringing these capabilities back to an enterprise to achieve the vision of invisible IT.
It's a really fascinating concept as I was reading the report as well. It would seem that initially, if you hear the term invisible IT, it could potentially cause concern or fear, thinking, oh, well, is this automating everything? Are we going to be replaced? And it's actually the opposite. I remember when I saw a statistic on the report, only 12% of leaders said that implementing this type of process would reduce headcount. So that means the majority of leaders that want to switch to this type of model are really trying to assign work and focus on work that what matters to the organization and really keep the team and empower them. And I think that's really the theme of all of this. Mike, what are your thoughts on how you define invisible IT, and what does that journey look like in practice?
Just to support what Raksha said, everybody wants to become proactive. Reactive support is sort of just a little too late management. You really, with proactive, we want to solve those issues invisibly without people even knowing. I think I saw a study recently where up to 90% of problems that people have go unreported. And it's sometimes because it was always that way. They didn't know it could be better. And sometimes because they're just busy doing other things in the business and just don't bother to report it. And I think, with proactive IT, you have the promise that you can detect those things without the user reporting it, sometimes without them even experiencing it. And when you have a proactive capability and you have that working, this leads to a predictive model. When one person has a problem or 10 people have a problem, can we find all the people that have that same problem and just fix them directly, predict which other people are likely to be impacted? And I think this autonomous model, the idea is that when you can proactively fix problems and you can predict where problems are, sometimes you can apply those repairs in advance and directly. And it really isn't about replacing headcount. It's really about making the people that you have both more productive and happier at the same time. Again, it's like a unique model where moving to proactive makes everybody happy. You get lower costs, you get improved productivity, you get happier employees. It's kind of a everybody wins kind of a situation.
Yeah, if I were to imagine a real world, just metaphor or analogy, if the cooks are in the back of the kitchen and they have to wait for a ticket to come in to tell them what to cook, there's a server that has to walk around and, okay, now that causes all these things. But what if the cook just knew what to cook or, exactly what to create and what the recipe were and was and how to really like optimize that process? And I know that's easy, like very, ease of generalization. But for me, I think it's so cool that leaders are moving from these legacy models of even considering a support ticket for cybersecurity or tech claims may not even be needed anymore, and how we're really trying to focus on issues being resolved before not even the team, but the employees notice as well, making sure that productivity is interrupted and really seamless. So that's kind of the core of this most recent report that was very interesting. But let's kind of move on to the next topic, which is diving a bit more into AI. And we're hearing this everywhere. Every conference that we're going to, every podcast we're doing, AI is everywhere. But let's get tactical on how IT leaders should apply it responsibly beyond the buzzword stage of it. So, Mike, why is embedding AI into the platform itself and really considering it from the beginning of the IT strategy so critical?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting space because everybody through their consumer experience has tried out the chat apps and just had that feeling of amazement when you can see how well it can write and what it can do for you. And I think independent of what people do at work, they've already had this experience in their own consumer life, and which makes it really exciting. And I think people feel like I should, I need to figure out how to take advantage of this at work to make my job easier. And I think that the agentic AI model, the age we're entering right now, is really exciting and promising. It's the next stage in this evolution beyond just chat, and it's allowing agents to actually chip in and do some of that work. The challenge that you get is that if you just take a current product of any kind and you just bolt AI onto the top of it, your results tend to be kind of limited. You get some benefits from it, but it doesn't really fundamentally change the way the business works. To really get the big wins, you have to be willing to step back and rethink the job to be done from the beginning. You have to really think about what is the workflow, and if I had a reasoning engine and I had an agentic AI, how could I maybe change that job in order to really take advantage of it? And so I would say you got to beware of AI washing. Attach an AI term to a current product and hey, it's an AI product. Now, I think there's some of that out there, but there's some really exciting things too. And I think it flows back into that hyper personalization message that Rakshit was talking about, where really understanding what it is that people are trying to get done. What is their role in the business? How can we help them with the right IT services in order to make them more productive?
What do you think, Rakshit?
So, from my standpoint, I think if you see AI is all about augmenting human potential, right? I mean, so many a times we get into a question, will AI is going to take away our jobs, right? So, the way it is, I see it, if you're not using AI, it is very likely that your jobs can be taken off, right? I mean, but the reality is AI actually makes you become a better version of yourself. So, that's one. Second, I totally agree with Mike that, the best way to approach AI is to not treat it like a bolt-on approach, but to try to treat it like a built-in strategy which cut across people, processes, all the different aspects of an organization, and then create a complete tailor-made roadmap where AI can deliver to the individual expectations of every business role, which is hyper-personalization. And with the technologies like agentic AI, it is now much more simpler to deliver going forward.
Mike, I feel that it's really timely to discuss this because, from my understanding, you at Lakeside are practicing what you preach with this methodology or thinking, and there might be some AI capabilities that you're working on launching as well, potentially around Microsoft Ignite. Is that correct?
That's correct. Today, in fact, we're introducing new tools that really kind of encompass what I was talking about not just adding some AI features on top, but really a rethought workload around how can you deflect tickets? How can you help users help themselves in that hyper personalized world that's real time and ready right now? How can we help them help themselves to achieve productivity? And similarly, tools that help a help desk operator. How can you use the context of DEX data on the device along with AI reasoning to troubleshoot things really, really rapidly without having to go back and forth with the user and ask 20 questions. Maybe you can just go out to that device directly, interrogate it, get what you need, and get directly to answers. And so the tools that we're introducing or have introduced this week are really built around this idea of embedding AI deeply within the product and rethinking the workload and how people go about using these tools from the beginning. And that implies an entirely new UI, UX. And we decided, yeah, that's the right thing to do. We'll have to do that. But we're really going to examine the job to be done and figure out how to best deliver that to the user to make them most productive.
It's really exciting. Looking forward to learning and hearing more about this new feature and part of Lakeside. It's really clear to me that from both Lenovo and Lakeside, it's an agreed concept that AI really just has to be engineered at the core. It needs to be proactive, personalized, and then more importantly, trustworthy. Being trustworthy is the only thing that's going to empower leaders and teams to want to continue to using whatever process or device or system that's being put in place. And that trustworthiness really does kind of bleed into the concern of the now added complexity that we have within the IT environment. Managing that is more complex than ever. Enterprises are operating across really diverse tech environments, all sorts of softwares, Windows, Androids, Chrome, there's servers. There's a lot going on, right? So how is Lenovo helping IT leaders manage that complexity, still being trustworthy, and without adding overhead?
So first of all, you are right. I think now every enterprise has, and in fact, you take any enterprise customer, it's completely heterogeneous, right? I mean, they are not just having one operating system. They will have multiple different operating system in their environment, and the entire tech stack would also have multiple different technologies included in it. So what we are trying to do as part of the Lenovo is try to see how we can reduce the complexity out of all these processes for our customers and try to drive simplification and standardization as much as possible from a tech standpoint, while keeping in mind that personalization is very important from an employee standpoint. So what we are doing is typically focusing on three core principles. First one is around unifying the visibility and control for the organization. So how do we in a real time provide them a view around their entire device health state, around their application state, around their entire infrastructure state, so that they can take intelligent decisions on top of it. So that's the first capability which we believe is very important for an organization to have. The second area what we are focusing on is around the automation and orchestration. So how with the help of our Care of One platform, we can actually identify what are the repeat issues, what really matters to the user, and then create an entire workplace support model which is truly invisible and intelligent for any organization to consume. And the third area is around, how do we drive AI powered orchestration? So how with the help of next generation AI technologies, we can provide the right set of AI capabilities to the user, making sure that change management and adoption services are built as part of the plan so that enterprises can take advantage of this particular, platform. And then very specific to responsible AI, I think it's very important for every organization to consume AI responsibly. And we generally follow a three principle approach. We call it three lenses approach for any AI adoption within the enterprise. First one is around that AI should be purposeful. So apply AI just not for the sake that there is AI, but you should be focusing on what are the use cases which are there, and then try to see how you can automate. And there should be an ROI attached to each and every use case which is there in the enterprise. The second one is, AI has to be secured, right? I mean, so how do you make sure? Because in our work response report, we identified that 9 in 10 IT leaders, they were worried about their current cybersecurity landscape that may not be adequate enough to meet any kind of new threats which are arising because of AI adoption. So how do you secure the edge? How do you define the guardrails? How do you secure the entire infrastructure is the second key focus area. And the third one is around personalization. AI should deliver to the user expectation, making sure that the AI is understanding the user's day-to-day need, and they are able to adjust and improvise based on the usage of that particular employee of that particular technology. So that is how we are actually helping the organizations to embrace the new generation of AI and consume it in a much simpler way, reducing all the complications which they may be facing currently in their company.
That is very well said. Thank you so much, Rakshit. Mike, let's hear from your lens. What is the value of combining Lenovo's global scale with Lakeside's software breadth and depth and fidelity of endpoint data?
Yeah, I think Lakeside provides one piece of that equation. We provide the system of record to record what's going on, how well it's working, that feeds into that model. The orchestration of all the services Rakshit described as a complex problem and what Lenovo is delivering. We deliver the one component of that that helps with proactive IT and system of record and troubleshooting and these kinds of things. I keep telling Rakshit it's the most important piece. I'm not sure if he believes me or not, but we find that sophisticated customers have in the real world these complex needs. They have really wide-ranging needs, wide-ranging devices, applications, all kinds of different needs. And to be effective, we have to be that system of record, that DEX tool across all of these devices and do that in a homogeneous way. Having that kind of uniform view of the results and of the delivery model and everything else leads to great decisions. And so we aim to support enterprise-wide policy decisions that help deliver that invisible IT model and make people truly happy. Lenovo delivers not just kind of the infrastructure and orchestration, all the pieces around that, but also the global scale and global reach that it takes to make that really visible. So we add to that the deep visibility that kind of supports that global reach and scale. And the combination, I think, between us really supports this idea of better decision-making, happier end users, better use of IT funds to optimize resources. It's just kind of a win all the way around.
That is a huge win all the way around, and we definitely are better together. I wanted to just, really round out that point by saying that as this partnership is in place, Lenovo and Lakeside really enable smarter IT decisions for leaders, from the visibility to the optimization across all devices and operating systems that hopefully are going to help address the global IT skills gap, especially when it comes to AI and all of these new features in place. I think from the report, it said something like, and Rakshit, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but 43% of leaders say that their team still doesn't yet have the skills, AI skills needed for full adoption. And that's only one piece of this very large, complex puzzle that we're discussing today. So I can't wait to hear and see how this partnership really puts into practice these solutions and how it will make that gap smaller for leaders. So let's talk a little bit more about back to the invisible IT, because this concept is very interesting. Let's talk about maybe in a practical sense of examples that we're seeing today. One function we were talking about is self-healing. I do want to start this with you, Rakshit. So, invisible IT is like a term we use, but in retail or in just general enterprise, we're seeing something called self-healing, which is a functionality within IT systems for businesses. Tell me a little bit about what your thoughts on self-healing is. Like, why is it critical for industries like retail or healthcare and manufacturing, where downtime directly impacts revenue and customer experience?
Absolutely, Rita. I think, self-healing is one such capability which is very important for every enterprise. So it doesn't matter what is the vertical of the customer, whether it's a retail customer or a manufacturing customer, or you can say even a healthcare customer. You can apply self-healing as a concept to every vertical, right? So the new capability around invisible IT, what customers are looking for and what Lenovo is promoting as a platform in the industry, is a AI-led and a labor-like model, if you remember what I spoke about earlier. So self-healing is a very critical component of it. We see that, with the help of self-healing, we can actually automate all the top call drivers which exist in every customer environment. We can put predictive controls through which we can also identify when a user machine is facing a particular challenge. We can automatically take a corrective action with the help of self-healing technology on specific issue. So self-healing is basically helping us to, what Mike said, make the employees happier. Sometimes these employees are the frontline employees. So example, if it is a retail employee, then yes, it will help them to improve their store experience index. It will help them to improve If they are a doctor, it will help them to make sure that the EHX systems are up to date. Those systems are not struggling at all. And more importantly, from a self-healing perspective, what we are doing very closely working with Lakeside and team, we have launched a new offering called Smart Store Operations, through which we can proactively monitor IT and OT landscapes of the customer. So, example, if it is a point of sales device, or if it is any kind of a digital signage system, with the help of self-healing technology, we can identify what is the proactive challenge which is happening on that particular machine, and then we can take corrective action to solve that particular issue. So, in short, from a self-healing perspective, it is really one of the foundation pillar for us to deliver our vision around invisible IT to the clients, and we are able to significantly reduce the day-to-day errands which our employees are facing on a day-to-day basis with the help of this particular technology.
What about you, Mike? What are your thoughts on self healing and how have you seen it applied generally in the real world that has had results or really great use cases for businesses?
The first thing is the diagnostics, right? And we figured out how to use AI to drive fully automated diagnostics, not just to know that there is a problem, but to know what the root cause of that problem is. It's very fresh technology. This really is the foundation on which you can apply the automatic repairs. This is technology that works today. It's deliverable now. I think we're seeing a convergence of IT and OT technologies. And IT, it's your laptop, it's your device, you kind of own it. You're happy to report the problems, you want it to work well. In OT, there isn't necessarily a user of that device. I mean, there is someone that takes advantage of it, but they don't really own it in the same sense. If you look at advertising signage, who is the owner of the device? Does that owner know when it's not working well? And so you end up in this world where these devices have to be able to advocate for themselves because there's no one else there to do it. And this is kind of how self-healing and invisible IT are kind of related together. They kind of are all part of the same bundle. A favorite example I have, I was in New York about a month ago, and I was on my way to dinner and walking through Times Square, and one of the gigantic advertising signs, I mean, it's a building size sign, had a blue screen of death on it, sitting in Times Square. And I went to dinner and I came back and it was still sitting there on the same model. And I thought to myself, this is probably the most expensive advertising sign in the entire world, but no one is there to advocate it. Everyone sees it, but nobody's doing anything about it. And so I think allowing these devices to advocate for themselves in a kind of a more advanced model really can enable productivity for people. It can enable happiness, sometimes happy customers, right? I guess I don't know if I would be really happier if that Times Square sign was working, but somebody certainly would be, right? So I think that this convergence of IT and OT is really another big opportunity to enhance productivity and really an example of where IT becomes really a business partner for the business itself.
Rakshit, what do you think about that story? Imagine if it was a customer paying God knows how much for a sign like that, and maybe we were able to have a self-healing thing that fixed it before it was even an issue to get to that point. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, Rita. I was with Mike last week at Gartner 30 Symposium, so he also showed me a lot of pictures to this story, right? I mean, so you are absolutely right. I think what the world needs right now is the invisible IT through which we can make every device intelligent. It doesn't matter who owns the device, if it is a one-to-one ownership or if it is a shared ownership. The device become intelligent enough to identify the problem, and the diagnostic capability is there, and then we can automatically fix that particular thing. So that is the vision, right? I mean, that is what exactly we intend to do by bringing the IT and OT world together, making sure that workplace is just not restricted to the enterprises offices. It is there wherever the users are. So if the users are in the retail stores, then retail workplaces taking advantage of this invisible IT technology. If users are in the hospitals, then hospital IT is taking advantage of this particular technology, and same way it can be applied to each and every vertical. So I'm super excited about the potential of this particular technology and what it has to offer to the world.
That's a great point, especially in hospital tech. It could save lives, having a
Yeah.
device being down, but being able to be solved and healed beforehand. Like these are real world concepts that are going to change the landscape overall. And, self healing really
Yep.
embodies that main baseline principle of invisible IT.
So Rita,
So,
if I can just add one point there,
yes, please.
if you talk about healthcare verticals, the most critical machine in the healthcare vertical is basically the hospitals is cows and mouse, right? I mean, so basically computer on wheels and monitors on wheels, right? Just imagine the kind of impact it can have on the patient life if some of those machines are down. So with the help of our invisible IT value proposition, taking advantage of the Lakeside platform, we can actually identify the problem with those machines rather than relying on people to tell and point out that there is a particular problem on the machine, because many of these machines are not one to one owned by a single person. It's a shared machine. So technology is really coming to the respite and it can be applied to every vertical. And to your point, there is a huge business benefit and huge larger benefit around each and every vertical which we can drive with this particular technology.
So, on that note, Rakshit, in 3 to 5 years, what do you think the future of IT, DEX, self healing, all invisible IT, all these amazing concepts we're talking about, here, what's going to really define what the high performing IT organization is going to look like and what's going to be the new standard of work?
So, Rita, the way I think the future of work, and more importantly, how in next to 3 to 5 years, IT organizations are going to perform, I think it would be more around not just how much technology they are owning. It should be more around how much technology they can use out of it to drive the business outcome. So the future is all about taking advantage of the agentic AI capabilities which are coming up and making sure not just embrace the quantum of the technology, but try to link it to the business outcome and deliver the best output out of it is going to define the future. Some of the capabilities and success factors which are going to be very important is one around hyper personalization. So how do you empower your workforce irrespective of where they are, where they operate from, what kind of role they do is going to be very important. Then I think equally important would be to have a predictive and a seamless operations model, taking advantage of this agentic AI labor-like model. So that's something which is going to define the future. And then how do you create the IT much more agile, much more resilient, and where you can continuously learn on an ongoing basis? That is going to define, and that will become the mantra for any organization 3 to 5 years down the line if they want to be the model organization from an IT standpoint.
I'm going to ask you the same question, Mike, because I'm curious as well to hear your thoughts about in 3 to 5 years. And I mean, if you think about just in 1 year, how much has changed, what is going to define that high performing IT organization structure or environment?
Yeah, I'll do my best. At 5 years, my crystal ball is a little bit cloudy,
Right.
but I think for the next few, maybe I would build on top of what Rakshit said, because I think he articulated that vision very nicely. I think that data is critical. Everything is going to start with data. Data is the fuel that's going to drive the automation and AI that's going to make you successful. It's data in my business, in my field, DEX for sure, but it's data all over, because these models, this AI technology just can't get enough of it. You can't have enough, and this is how you're going to get the critical context that takes something that's generically powerful in AI models, but enable it to do useful things in your environment all directly. And this high quality data availability is going to be the limiter in a lot of cases for how much you can get done. It's certainly the case in our business. I would say don't focus so much on UIs and chats and things like that. Focus on the outcome. What does it do for the business at the end? And when you have your measuring stick that you're using to decide where do you want to invest, really got to ask that question of what's the difference going to be to the business at the end of the day. It should be possible to answer those kinds of questions. I think that more narrowly in my business, surfacing issues without relying on the user reports, on device by device, and doing, solving problems proactively and predictively and autonomously is where the future is going to go. And I think that it's this proactive, invisible IT that will really drive productivity and user happiness at the same time in both the IT and the OT worlds.
Fantastic. Right before we close here, I am just curious on the employee side. I would love to hear, what roles do you think are going to become important as a result of all of these new innovations? I've heard things like AI analyst or quality assurance or prompt engineering. Like, with these new practices and successes also comes new opportunities for roles within the business and outside. So just any thoughts on what some of those roles might be from either of you? Feel free to chime in.
So I'll possibly go first. So my view is, every role is going to augment. Obviously, there are new roles which will get created around data intelligence. Like Mike said, data is the new fuel for AI. So a lot of data specific data analysts, AI strategists, all those kind of roles will definitely get newly created. But having said that, every other role within the company is also going to transform. So the new workforce is going to be all AI augmented and human powered, is how I'll say the future of work is going to look like. Mike, your thoughts?
I would agree. I think every role, literally every role, is going to be impacted as these new tools are available. And I think if you think of them as tools designed to augment what people can get done, to do the dirty work for you, to really let people focus on adding value that humans have and humans can do, this is where the world is going. And I'd say a lot of that is here today, the beginnings of it at least. I think that it'll be really important to have the right guardrails in place as we move ahead and have that trustworthy and privacy maintained kind of world. These are really important things, but I do think that nearly every job will have some impact from using these tools. And so if you're not using these tools today, I'd say you got to go out and learn. And, they do change really, really rapidly. So, just because you tried it 6 months ago, it might be a different story today. And I think that's both a challenge and it's exciting at the same time. For me, it lets me focus my energy on the things I like to do. And a lot of the things that I didn't like to do so much, I can automate away. But I think every job will be impacted.
I think that's very well said. I bring it up just to kind of round out the point here that if you're a leader listening and these things are something you want to achieve or better understand, Lenovo and Lakeside together are a solution to help you get started on assessing that journey for you. It doesn't have to be done alone. I don't think any business or any enterprise can enter this next era internally just deciding on their own exactly what they need to do. So thank you so much both for joining us and giving your insights. For me, the takeaway is really clear. We're hearing that the future of IT isn't just about reacting to the problems. It's about anticipating them, preventing them, and enabling employees to stay productive while getting those business outcomes. So thank you so much both for joining me on this podcast today, and for our listeners who, are senior IT leaders who are really shaping the digital workplace tomorrow. If anyone is interested in learning more about this conversation and downloading the latest Work Reborn report, please do so. You'll be able to explore Lenovo's digital workplace solutions, and including our partnership with Lakeside. And, until next time, this has been a pleasure. And that wraps it up for our session of Work Reborn. Thank you both so much.
Thank you both.
Thank
It was
you.
great.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Work Reborn. We've heard how Lenovo and Lakeside Software are redefining IT, shifting from reactive to proactive to predictive support, embedding AI at the core, and giving IT leaders the data and visibility to manage complex environments with confidence. We also heard real-world scenarios of self-healing that prevented downtime, reduced field visits, and kept customers satisfied. The takeaway is clear. The future of IT isn't about reacting to problems. It's about anticipating them, preventing them, and enabling employees to stay productive while driving measurable business results. A big thank you to Rakshit from Lenovo and Mike Schumacher from Lakeside Software for sharing their insights today, and thank you to our listeners, senior IT leaders who are shaping the digital workplace of tomorrow. For more insights, download the latest Work Reborn report and explore Lenovo's digital workplace solutions, including LDO with Lakeside SysTrack. Until next time, I'm Rita, and this has been Work Reborn.
Lenovo.